Very much indeed, Lasca, and thank you, Minister, and thank you for being here today to discuss this very important issue. I suppose it came as a shock 2 weeks ago, a number of weeks ago, when it was mentioned in prime time about that Limerick FM in Limerick might be closing as part of the cutbacks to do with RTE and their cost-saving measures. I know I've had a number of meetings with Limerick, and it's really Limerick that I'm really concerned about, and it's the closing of the Limerick studio. Limerick plays such an important role in terms of the cultural life, not only of Limerick but of Ireland. The amount of listenership that they have a huge listenership from all over the country, and there's been a groundswell of support for the staff, but also for the station. And while I'm aware the station is not closing, it's been dispersed to Cork and to Dublin. I really do believe that in terms of our national broadcaster, RTE, and their proposed closure of the Limerick studio, that it certainly is going against the grain of what the government is trying to deliver. As part of the Ireland 2040 plan, the government has spoken about everything happening in the regions. Even in terms of job creation, 6 in every 10 jobs that have been created over the last number of years have all been outside of the M50 and have been in the regions. This has literally drawn a circle around the Midwest and saying we'll get rid of that and we'll move so many people to Cork and so many people to Dublin. And even in terms of your own remit, Minister, I suppose climate change, the fact of imagining staff piling into cars, driving to Cork, driving to Dublin, that's also adding to climate change. But there's been a great groundswell of support, and even this coming Thursday, a number of cultural institutes, from choirs to the orchestra, the National Chamber Orchestra, they're all having an event actually in the University Concert Hall in the Chamber Orchestra performance space on Thursday evening, where they're all coming together to support Limerick. But really, Minister, I suppose what I'm really, really concerned about is, number one, losing the cultural heritage in Limerick and in the region, and also the fact of the jobs as well. There's up to 50 jobs. There's 25 jobs, but you've the knock-on effect to their families as well. And also, I suppose the last thing I'd like to say is that, there is a cultural director to do with RTE. They've never even had the courtesy or never visited the Limerick studio. And UL have actually offered a space to them, and there are other organisations that are willing to offer space at a knockdown rate to keep Limerick in Limerick. And that's my major concern here today, Minister. I look forward to hearing from you later.
Senator O'Donnell.
Thanks very much, Cathaoirleach, and I want to welcome Minister Bruton to the House and thank you for taking the time out to take this debate. You have a report that has been delivered by the board with the Chair, Maria Byrne, and the Forbes as the DG of RTE about a restructuring model within RTE itself. I think everyone accepts there is a need for a restructure to take place in the overall RTE structure. But nevertheless, particularly in the context of the Midwest and Limerick, 2 aspects I want to get clarification from the Minister on. The firstly is in terms of the regional broadcasting general news remit of RTE in the Midwest. My understanding is they are retaining that. We want to be certain that they retain that they can broadcast live from a studio. At the moment, Minister, you're probably aware that Limerick and RTE outside broadcast, Limerick and we'll say the regional newsroom, are based in the same building on the same floor. Effectively, it's in Cormarker's Row in the heart of Limerick City. They've both been there now since 1999. And the studio there itself, I'm told, is the best state-of-the-art studio outside of Donnybrook. So what you have here is you have a state-of-the-art studio based in the heart of Limerick City, which houses both the RTE studio itself for regional and also the Limerick FM. The questions I suppose I want to put is that when you look at the overall aspect of Limerick itself, Limerick provides it's the lowest cost per hour of any station with RTE. In fact, I would actually make the case, the counterbalance case, Minister, that there is a strong argument for maybe the decentralisation of other arms of RTE, the likes of 2FM, to the Limerick studio in Limerick. There's quite a large amount of capacity available. There are 23 people whose lives, real lives, are at stake. Limerick is a cultural element, huge element of what we offer in the Midwest. But I think what I'm putting to you, Minister, is when you're reviewing it and under your remit, that you would ask RTE to come back and give careful consideration on the model they have in Limerick. If they're required to do some reorganisation in terms of reduction of costs in Limerick, so be it. I think staff are aware that there may be, you could have maybe slightly lower studio there, a smaller studio there. But nevertheless, Limerick is key to the family. It's worked. It's one of the successes of decentralisation. I don't think the worry here is that RTE are going for low-hanging fruit when in fact there are wider restructurings that need to be taking place. Thank you.
Thank you both, Senators. Minister.
Yeah, no, thanks very much indeed. Well, first of all, just to thank the Senators for raising this. I think everyone here in the House acknowledges that this is a difficult time for traditional media, be they national or local, and RTE hasn't been immune from that impact as people have migrated their viewing and listening habits to different platforms. And I think the House agrees that broadcasting is an absolutely vital part of our public service, both locally and nationally, to have that vibrant, locally relevant information, entertainment service. But nonetheless, RTE have to adapt to this very dramatically changed environment in which public service broadcasting has to be delivered in a very vibrant way. And I welcome the work that the RTE management and board have put into devising a strategy, which, yes, it is about cutting back, but also it is about developing new platforms, new ways of addressing their audience. As you know, they have sought assistance from government, additional support, and the government are, of course, committed to support. We've already, in last year's budget, provided 10 million. The difficulty for RTE in the last couple of years is that while their cost base has gone up in the last 5 years by 28 million, their fee other than from licence income has been static. So they haven't been able to grow that. So even the 10 million extra that have gone in through licence fee by the state adapting effectively the social welfare contribution, that hasn't been enough. Now, government's decisions to date have been to tender out to cut that very high evasion rate and to move over time to a device-independent charging system. And I suppose what RTE is asking the government to relook at that, saying that's not enough. We are evaluating their plan, of course, and that work has been done. They've done their own work with PwC, is it? PwC? And we've also had New Era. In terms of the detail that you outline here, I'm not across the detailed evaluation that is done on individual changes that they've put forward. I can understand your point that this has been a very valuable element of broadcasting within the Midwest, and any change is obviously going to be a problem. RTE are committed, of course, to discuss with those directly affected the impact of this through their unions, and I'm sure they do remain open to see proposals that would deliver equal value in the course of that. But I suppose they do recognise that they have to be both financially viable and develop a strategy that repositions themselves to take up the opportunities in a very rapidly changing media world. So our work of examining what they've proposed is going on, and I obviously will be meeting with RTE to discuss the strategy and how that can be developed over time. I think I am coming back to the House here to discuss it in broader detail, but I suppose the detailed proposals, the only thing that would come to me as an actual ministerial consent being involved, as opposed to the board and the executive making their decisions, would be matters that represent changes of channels or whatever. And this type of decision would be one that would be within their remit. So I suppose they will have to evaluate the case that you and others are putting forward, unions, and to see, do they need to modify their plan in the light of what's being submitted. But that is a matter for the executive and the board in the first instance. But I certainly will convey your concerns to those involved.
Thank you, Minister. Would the Senators like a brief supplementary?
Yeah, please.
Senator Byrne.
Thanks very much indeed, and thank you, Minister, for your response. I suppose that the biggest concern I have is that UL wrote to actually RTE two months ago and wrote subsequently for that. They haven't had the courtesy of a reply. They were off in a space outside in the university. I mean, there are many proposals out there. So many people want to see Limerick kept in Limerick, and it's so important, the whole cultural aspect. And I really believe that Limerick has become the meat and the sandwich, or the down, I suppose, the people who are being, they're having 100% cuts as such to the staff. They're not even sure that they're going to be offered jobs in Cork or Dublin, whereas, the rest of the studios, it's supposed to be voluntary redundancy, but, their studios actually being closed. And it's my understanding that it's like a kiosk type effort that's going to be built for the regional correspondent. There won't be a studio. So if RTE, if 2FM or anyone come to Limerick, there won't be a studio present. So that's a big, huge disadvantage to Limerick in the region.
Senator O'Donnell.
Thank the Minister for I suppose, 2 quick points. Minister, when you meet the RTE board, I think it's critical that in any decision to make, there's a proper evaluation, particularly around the 2 areas in the Midwest and Limerick. One, about Limerick, that all options are considered, be that the offer from UL, be that in looking at what the current position in the studio they're in to see is it possible. I think that the worry I have here, Minister, is that it's not just about Limerick, it's about the outside broadcasting, the live broadcasting from the region. And if there's any question of the downgrading by RTE in any way of the regional remit in the context of the Midwest, that's unacceptable. And I think the decisions that have been made by RTE are the proposed decisions, because we'll take it that we'll be trying to ensure they're not a final decision, are disproportionate. That's the key feature here. What's happened here, they appear to have done disproportionate measures for Limerick in the Midwest. So I'd ask, Minister, that when you meet RTE, that you would convey that, and that you would look to see a proper evaluation around those decisions, because I believe they do not add up. Thank you.